Do you check the chart before seeing a patient in the emergency department? I have heard some completely opposite viewpoints on this. I personally think it saves a lot of time and effort for you and the patient to at least do a cursory check, right? Open it up on Cerner or Epic or whatever the heck the Windows 95 VA EMR is, and see what the most recent notes are. If you see 30 notes by the surgical ICU and some flavor of surgeon, it's probably important to see that. In the same vein, if you open the chart and the first thing you see is a note from 11 years ago, probably not a lot to talk about in the EMR that you're using, because they might have had something at a different hospital because none of them talk to each other. I have heard from very smart people, very good doctors, do not check the chart before you see the patient. And I think their intention is good. You don't want to cloud yourself or have some preformed bias if you go in and see that the patient has been present for cyclic vomiting or marijuana hyperemesis 11 times in the past 4 months, right? Because now could be the time they come with appendicitis, which I think is fair. However, if you go into that patient's room and you say, have you otherwise been well? They might say, oh, I've been in the hospital 11 times for vomiting in the past year. But that's kind of a niche example, right? Like another one could be if you have a patient who's very medically complex, they have cancer, they're getting chemo, they had a tumor debulking surgery, or they just gave birth to a child, right? And you walk into the room with, hey, what's up? What's that scar about? And you didn't take 30 seconds to look at it. That can be a hard place to establish trust with your patient. Like if you walk into the patient's room and they just got out of the medical ICU because they got intubated for asthma and they gave birth to a baby 3 months ago by a crash C-section, it doesn't take too long to see that. And instead of trying to blindfold yourself by the potential of bias, by whatever you see in the chart, recognize that that exists and look at the chart anyway. Because if you have a preformed bias, that will exist whether or not you look at the chart beforehand and just take the steps that you need to take to make sure you treat the patient well. So yeah, the majority of the time I'm going to check the chart.